Hello today, everyone. Today I'm joined with Mateo Johnson, the founder of Axiom, who is the inventor of the Axiom H2 hydrogen system that contains the three different various machines, the H300, the H600, and the H3000. One's for personal use, one's for professional use, and one's for clinical use, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. And so I wanted to do this interview to help our First Alternatives family and our extended friends understand what a little bit about the technology and uh, answer some of their burning questions, hopefully. So I wrote up about a list of 20 questions that we can go through and kind of dive into the details for this. And how you doing, Mateo?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me.
Perfect.
I look forward to diving in and sharing more information about this incredible technology.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad about it. So speaking of the technology, can you describe what the Axiom H2, like the H300, H600, H3000 are all doing? Like what are they?
Okay, so those are premium design devices to generate from the comfort of your home to a clinic setting or doctor's office and all the way into hospital use and professional sports use. These are machines that generate clean molecular hydrogen gas. They have a lot of sensors on the machine, many years in the field, lots of development. And so that is their primary use, is to generate this gas for therapeutic use. And each of these different models do have flow rates, and that's where the difference comes in. And so the at-home model has a lower flow rate than the clinical model, and then the commercial unit has the highest flow rate. And the difference in flow rates, as far as therapy, is the amount of time needed on the device to reach a certain level of results. And so if you have a very busy clinic and you only can see a client or a patient for 30 minutes, we would recommend a higher flow rate, our commercial unit, so you can get a very powerful session in a very short amount of time. Whereas the at-home user that spends a lot of time at home in front of a desk or reading a book, things like that, that home unit works perfectly because they can have more time on the machine to reach those saturation levels.
Hmm. Okay. And so when you're saying molecular hydrogen, is that's H2, correct? That's not like H2O. It's not like we're not just putting like water or just a bare molecule, right? It's a combination of stable gas.
Yes, correct. We're using hydrogen and there in many different forms of hydrogen. In the form we use, also known as dihydrogen, molecular hydrogen, and H2. And that's two hydrogen atoms combined together to create H2. Um, Unlike H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, which a lot of people are familiar with, that's more of an oxidative form, whereas H2 is more of an antioxidative like effects through this form.
Okay, cool. So that gets into a lot of the details there. So what inspired you to develop this technology then? This very particular generating machine.
Well, it all originated, I was a competitive athlete many years ago, and I was boxing, and I was also studying holistic nutrition, became a certified holistic nutritionist, certified in herbs and supplements, strength and conditioning, eventually molecular hydrogen and ozone therapy, and a lot of other things in this um, alternative and augmented health field. And so through athletic performance and that drive to find new natural ways to boost my body's own efficiency, empower recovery time, energy, that led me into different medical gases. Originally, it was hyperbaric oxygen, which led me from hyperbaric oxygen to ozone therapy, which is oxygen with an extra added oxygen molecule, making it very oxidative. So it can kill harmful germs and bacteria and things like that. However, there is a risk. You can overdo it. You can harm yourself with it, and it does need to be administered in a very professional, controlled environment, just like the hyperbaric oxygen as well. Um, it's safe, but there is risk when we're using pressure and large amounts of oxygen. And then that led me into hydrogen. And then when I started learning more about hydrogen, that there was zero cytotoxicity, you could never overdose in it. And it was showing also to be the smallest molecule in the universe, So that means it had a higher bioavailability due to its molecular size. It could go into our cell walls, affect the nucleus, pass our blood-brain barrier. And so through athletic performance led me into hydrogen, which I did notice, a longer cardio, more endurance, more stamina, and to a pretty great degree where I had to really look into this hydrogen therapy a bit more and say, okay, what is really the mechanisms that's going on here? And uh, through learning more and more, I realized this is a lot bigger than me. This is a lot bigger than sports performance. This is for the elderly, the sick, and people that couldn't find the help for 170, 180 different human diseases. Hydrogen's now been reported to show benefits in.
So you really approach this from kind of like a effectiveness or an efficacy point for your own personal body. And then when you were visiting the effectiveness across numerous different issues, you saw a significant push for actual the ability to interact and help with those issues. So it's kind of impressive in that you kind of were mentioning different technologies that you came to and were looking at as in forms of medical gas. Can you distinguish? So like, what are really the distinction features between molecular hydrogen and say technologies like Brown's gas, ozone, like straight oxygen or hyperbaric chambers? If you want to take those one at a time, like, so what's the big difference between hydrogen, stable hydrogen, and like Brown's gas, for example?
Well, typically Brown's gas, um, also known as oxyhydrogen, but in the field, if they're talking about a true Brown's gas, that actually those machines require certain chemical solution in them called sodium hydroxide, also known as lye, to add extra ions to the water. And so Brown's gas is a mixture of oxygen, hydrogen together, discovered by Yule Brown. Um, and then they were using originally this for welding torches, and they found out that, hey, there's actually health benefits to this. And so that's actually the first technology I was working with many years ago was Brown's gas. But then as I did more and more research in the most advanced countries in this type of research of molecular hydrogen therapy, countries like Japan, Korea, Taiwan, China, I started to realize that their research was saying that the magic's really in hydrogen and not the oxygen. And even though there's some efficacy with the combining them together, there's actually greater risk to reward through using high doses of oxygen on a healthy person with proper blood oxygen saturation. So that's where as my research developed, I started to steer away from oxyhydrogen because it really made sense and towards just pure hydrogen. And when I did that, faster results with my clients, faster health, and understand this molecule, also known as a miracle molecule, hydrogen, was really the key behind a lot of these factors. And again, zero cytotoxicity. You can never overdose on it. You can overdose, with a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It's a pressure, it's gas, so there is some risk involved with that. And same thing with the oxyhydrogen. That's very, very extremely combustible. That was originally created to use for welding torches. Um, and
Yeah. It's almost
so,
funny to think about someone using it as a welding torch. I could just see them in the workshop being like, "Oh yeah, if I could breathe this in right now, there's no no harm." And you're like sitting
yeah,
there going, "Well, it's very
right.
flammable."
We
So
yeah, we
that's
wondered who first, yeah, decided to be ballsy enough to try that.
that's Brown's gas. What about ozone? What's the
So
distinguishing feature there?
so again, ozone is oxygen with an extra added oxygen molecule, making it very oxidative.
Okay.
Um, and then hydrogen is H2. So we have two hydrogen atoms combined together. So, and that does act like an antioxidant. Hydrogen hydrates, oxygen oxygenates, oxidates, and with certain levels. And so they get many health benefits through oxidation due to its powerful oxidative properties. So things like mold that's very stubborn to get out the body, and or parasites and or a cancer. Um, this high amounts of oxygenation in the blood is a good thing for those disease environments, and that oxidation can help if it's in a very controlled amount, because too much can definitely harm you. And you could also trigger a very strong detox response known as Herxheimer. And
Mm,
that's where your body can't process all the toxins and you're left with very, very strong symptoms. And so I'm still a fan of ozone. I think it has its place, but again, you can't overdose it. It needs to be in a very controlled environment, and you do need to be using medical grade ozone from a tank. So
mm.
sometimes that can be troublesome to get and move around. And
Difficult for a practitioner to control, get, acquire, and okay. So I hear what you're saying is that, with a lot of these um, current medical gases, a lot of them seem to be difficult to acquire, difficult to maintain, and uh, essentially hard to well, not hard, but you can overdose on them. Essentially, you can overdo them. And is that not the case with the hydrogen machine? Is it, are you saying that it's more portable, it's easy to use, activate, it's not difficult to breathe in, and that you can't really overdose on it?
exactly. And I
Okay.
mean, it became a no-brainer to me when I'm thinking about getting a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, right? So a chamber is going to take up space. It's not very portable. Ideally, you should be using a medical grade gas from an oxygen tank, which if you're not a medical practitioner, that can be challenging to acquire. Explosivity, right? So a little bit of risk. And same with ozone. Ozone, great tool, but to do it through the blood, you definitely need a nurse or a medical practitioner. Same thing with the oxygen tank. There's risk of overdoing it. Um, it's small, but again, with oxygen, that's where it gets more difficult for transportation. And then the hydrogen is probably one of the easiest to transport. It only runs off water, so there's no filling up any tanks, prescriptions, anything like that. Just runs off distilled water and a regular plug, and then there's no risk. You can never overdose it. The concentration of hydrogen is below the explosive threshold, so you can have a candle on the table running, be cooking in the oven in the kitchen, and have your hydrogen running on the couch, and there's
Hmm.
zero risk of explosion, anything like that. So, due to its gentle safety and effectiveness, it just was a no-brainer for me to start trending towards more hydrogen. And then the more I found the research, there's over now, I think it's 16 to 1700 um, clinic-backed studies of molecular hydrogen and with zero adverse effects.
Oh
So
wow. So it's really you would say it's a very adverse friendly um, technology, right? Because there's no, what I'm hearing is, a lot of people are using it, they're not getting sick. They're not, it's very hard to overdo it. Um, and this begs the question then, it leads into, it's like, so what type of specific problem do you think has the best scenario for where this technology can be used to address in the medical field? So are we talking, because you're saying this is something we breathe in, right? So does it help with smoking? Does it help with respiratory problems?
yes, there's an array of different diseases that has been well documented to show very, very good effects with. However, where the hydrogen gas seems to touch, it does work more effectively. Meaning, if you do have a type of respiratory condition from pneumonia, asthma, bronchitis, and long COVID, um, anything like that, the hydrogen is going to be very, very effective because the hydrogen gas is touching the lungs.
Mm,
Um, and so that's a great one. There's also been a lot of the reported benefits for neurological issues. And, uh, on the other hand, for more gut health issues, liver, kidneys, those internal organs, the hydrogen rich water seems to have a greater, faster effect. And again, that's where the water and the gas is actually touching and getting into some of those organs. So it makes sense. And so ideally, anyone using that has one of our technologies or devices should be combining the water, drinking the hydrogen-rich water with the inhalation. However, you would definitely go more inhalation for someone with respiratory issues, and you would go more focused on the hydrogen-rich water intake with our tablets for the stomach health and issues like that.
Okay. So you're describing a scenario because you talked about memory and that there's more ways than just inhaling it to experience the
Correct.
technology, right? So I know that there are multiple different attachments that the device that all the technology comes with. So there's like goggles, there's headphones that help generate it through the ears, and you have the diffuser, right? That you can actually put the stable H2 into the water to increase the benefit of there. Now, there's three different questions off of that. The first one I'd like to
Sure.
tackle is definitely, so how does you're saying like whatever the gas touches is more beneficial. How does the headphones help penetrate the blood-brain barrier and actually help with memory and getting the body to improve the hydration process? How does it get through the derma?
Well, again, because it is the smallest molecule in the universe, means it can penetrate every nook and cranny in the body. But for neurological issues, the ear canal is a perfect and the fastest pathway directly to the brain for anti-inflammatory effects by neutralizing oxidative stress. And so there's also reports showing improvements with um, hearing damage to the eardrums. And so in things like tinnitus as well, we've had good reports helping with some of those symptoms. And so for the headphones, anything with hearing loss, hearing related and or neurological or a brain damage, an injury, concussion, things like that, the headphones are going to be the way to go there. And for the macular diseases and anything ocular with our eye health, anything from eye twitch to cataracts um, to loss of vision, things like that. There has been some clinical reports behind the eye goggles as well. And so we have an attachment that the gas goes into the eye goggles, and actually you can saturate your eyes. And we have had good reports on that as well. You can even combine saturated hydrogen-rich water into eye drops as well, if it is a clean, purified water.
Mm.
So those two are a combination that you could do for ocular health.
Yeah, I know that there's a certain correlation with ocular health and like how hydrated that the lenses can be maintained, and that the drier the eye, the more likely for degeneration to occur. And so it's interesting that you can directly have a protocol for your clients or for yourself where you just put on the goggles and then you're assisting your body in the hydrating process of that and helping to antioxidize certain agents and the lensing effect of that. Does it improve acuity even if you're not you don't have degeneration then as well?
That's reports have stated that. Yeah, we've
Okay,
had
cool.
a few different testimonials of young, healthy people in their 20s um, showing, say, wow, everything seems more clear and crisp and sharp.
Yeah.
Um, so we've had some fun tests, actually creating an eye chart, creating letters from larger to smaller down the lines, and we've done some before and afters, and just anecdotal stuff, having fun with it. But people were seeing honestly one row down, one row further, so it
Oh,
was
so it's an
pretty.
entire degree of improvement. Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then just to follow up then on what the other point was is, you're saying that it can affect the gut as well. And that's not only the breathing part, but when you're digesting, you're drinking the water, you're saying that it impacts how the body processes. Is that because the H2, when you drink it, it doesn't not necessarily interact right away, but then when it makes it through to the gut, it interacts a ton with all the gut flora and the gut biome that it acts as a kind of like a survival mechanism in terms of maintaining and balancing that, or how does it actually interact with the gut?
Well, the studies have shown that it helps actually the production of our healthy bacteria as the hydrogen water interacts and hydrogen interacts with our gut health. So it actually helps our natural good flora and fights the bad bacteria, things like candida and stuff like that. And so our gut health being very important, hydrogen-rich water is going to be an excellent thing for gut health, as well as our tablets as well, which we have the orally dissolved tablets. So being that that tablet breaks up directly into the gut health, you're going to have very, very strong impact on our gut health with those tablets. Hence why we get such good testimonials with the tablets. So there's a specific enzyme called hydrogenase, and antibiotics has been reported to destroy this enzyme, hydrogenase, up to 3 to 5 years after one round of antibiotics. And this is a very important enzyme that we need to make hydrogen naturally in our stomach through a fiber-rich diet. But due to the overuse of antibiotics in the medical community in Western part of the world, or maybe all of the world, but this is destroying very crucial enzymes for many, many years. So hydrogen
Hmm.
helps to restore all this.
Okay, wow. I didn't. So is it, and when you're saying that, it's like, okay, these are, you know, I think I don't know many people who haven't had any antibiotics, but I do know that there's significant side effects from taking them, especially for the gut and the gut biome.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting to hear that there is there is a solution available to help with the gut. And is that going to help uh, with the bloating essentially that people can experience from having like an inflamed gut or IBS?
Yeah, a lot of people will, what I've seen, hydrogen gives the body with extra energy. So the body knows what to do. It just doesn't have that free extra energy to take on those tasks. So we have seen reduction in bloating as well as the first few days, some bowel movements happening. And it really starts to just bring homeostasis to every organ. It affects every organ in the body.
So you so you genuinely believe that this technology can help almost anyone when you're talking to them.
I I believe that, in my opinion. This is not medical advice, but in my opinion, I do believe that due to hydrogen repairing our cells, and that's why our devices are called the cellular optimizer, because it's optimizing cellular health. And really, if you repair the cells, in theory, the cells will repair the body. And so start at the, the most root cause and the root core of our being, and that's our cells, and that's the nucleus. And so hydrogen affects all those things in a very positive way. And so I feel like we should focus on the cells. The cells then take care of our organs, the tissues, and everything else in our bones, and goes into everywhere.
Is do you think so? That's a fantastic answer. Do you think that there's any contraindications to the technology, like in scenarios where you shouldn't be using it?
So far that I have found, there are none. We always, would precaution people, even though there's medical literature showing that it's beneficial for pregnancy and pregnant women. Um, there's always delicate scenarios that we would uh, kind of say proceed at your own risk, um, not because the evidence shows otherwise, but because it's a child, and um, even though all the reports have shown it to be safe and only beneficial effects, it is still newer to the world, and it's still lacking, very long term, long term studies. And so we do precaution for anyone with type of attacks, a type of a seizure attack. I do believe it would help seizures to eliminate and rid the body of that symptom. But I would still say proceed with caution with a type of a seizure attack or an asthma attack, even though there's great reports showing it helps asthma. Any type of an attack or Pregnancy, we would just say proceed with caution.
Okay. So asthma, so you're saying any scenario where, so asthma, seizure, pregnancy, those are all different scenarios where, at least there's a caution towards it. And that's good information to have if you're a clinician or a practitioner. You just want to know, okay, if these are, what's my checklist of things I should check for before I just say, hey, you should do this. Um, so
Mhm.
speaking of like, I always like to recommend products that act as light switches for specific problems. So, when you go to switch on a light, you flip the light switch, the exact light you're expecting to turn on turns on. Nothing else happens. Just the light that you want to turn on is
Mhm.
on. If it turns on a fan, you need to call an electrician because it's not the light switch that you're looking for, right? So,
Right.
um, in your experience, what type of problems is this technology a light switch for?
Well, in my experience with the feedback I've heard from our not only our medical team, but many, many different testimonials, um, we definitely have had very powerful testimonials with autoimmune disease, like lupus. We've had really, really powerful testimonials with stage 4 dementia. That's numerous ones as well. We've had very powerful testimonials uh, with weight loss. People stating they've done not a thing different in their routine and lifestyle, and they were losing about 2 pounds per week, and that's been reported numerous times. Um, People start to noticing just a decrease in inflammation in the whole body from their wrists, their fingers, their arms, and um, so that's been a pretty consistent report. Mitochondrial disease. We've had a few different people that have used technology with mitochondrial diseases and had immediate response, very immediate positive response. And uh, I
Hmm.
mean, the list, I got a
That's
lot more. I mean,
that's quite a list. I was expecting like, because the main focus is like respiratory problems. I was thinking, okay, well, it's gonna be like smoking damage or it's gonna be, COPD. But these are some heavy hitters that you're pointing out here because I never thought about lupus and dementia is definitely a struggle because of how different agents are being blocked in the brain, different firing mechanisms for neurons and axioms can't actually connect properly. So it's curious to think about how stable hydrogen actually would greatly improve the benefit of the connection, the ability to actually fire these neurological waves. Okay, so those are some of the perfect targets for the light switch scenario. As far as a practitioner is concerned, um, when it comes to training and actually like knowing how to get success and implementing it, what's the learning curve on implementing this technology in your practice?
I would say it's about 30 days. If you're using the device about 5 days a week, 30 days before someone feels very comfortable to switch the accessory pieces. This is definitely um, extremely simple device to use. And me building machines in the past with other companies, doing the customer service for other companies, I assure you this is absolutely the easiest device in the market to operate. It's the safest as well because we have extra sensors more than other technologies as well. So, really, people can unbox it their first day and be using it the first day. It's two touches, one touch to turn on the power, the other touch to start the
Hmm.
gas production. And really, it's just about switching the accessories from the cannula for breathing, the diffusion rod for bubbling water, um, and I mean that's about it. I mean, it's a almost a plug and play. But with any new technology, people do need a few days and a few weeks and a few hours touching it, turning it on and off to get a little comfortable with it.
Okay, so it's what you're saying is it's two touches to turn on and use, and it's not necessarily the case that it's difficult to use and start up with. But if you really want to feel like you got control over it, you can talk about it and you can see the examples, you're saying 30 days is what you need to implement it properly. That's good. I mean, that's a good timeline for a lot of practitioners to look at. But as far as like actual education, is it going to take like 2 hours of education, 8 hours, 16 hours, or do you think it's like one phone call and up and running?
Honestly, it's pretty much a phone call up and running. It's you have the distilled water. Once you pour that in, you're good for 30 to 40 hours of runtime, which is could be a couple weeks of runtime with one fill. And and besides that, you're turning it on, you're turning it off, you're adjusting the time, and that's it. We don't they don't have to adjust with the flow rate and decide what flow rate to use, um, change any filters, make a chemical solution, nothing like that. It's just as long as your accessories are clean and ready for your next client, you're ready to go.
So you just said something that I want to key in too, because um, you said that we're putting distilled water into these machines. And is there a
Right.
sensor on your machine to tell you if you put like non-distilled water?
Yes, and so we've actually found certain supposedly distilled water companies that were selling distilled water that wasn't purely distilled, and they found out by putting it in our machine, the machine rejected it. And so it does have a very sensitive threshold of it's either like zero point 0.2 or zero point 0.3. And so as long as it's under that minimum threshold, the machine will operate without damaging anything. And so that's another great feature that if your water's not pure enough, and you're not sure, you put in the wrong water, you won't ever harm the machine or the internal components. The machine will actually cease to function, not to harm anything. And so
So
that's
you
a great feature.
so for those who are listening and are thinking of ordering a machine, just remember that when we do ship it out or if you do get it, to go out and have distilled water waiting for you, so that way you can use it right away. Because
Yes.
that is what's required to use with the device. And how expensive? Distilled water is not expensive, right? It's like what is it, $5 a half liter, a liter, is it?
Normally it's like $2.50 to $3.50 for a gallon, and a
Oh,
gallon
okay.
should last you a month or even a few months. So typically we say just pick up 2 gallons so you're stocked, and then that's like gives you on average a 6 month runtime with 2 gallons. So
Oh,
you're looking
wow.
at under $10 to run those machines
So you're not
for
you're and how much electricity does it use? Does it use a ton of electricity or
It does not. You probably won't even notice it on your electric bill. I think we've measured it to be close to like two light bulbs, like 2 to 3 light bulbs. So it's very mild.
so that's really cool then because that tells practitioners like, hey, you're gonna have this machine and there's not going to be a significant ongoing cost basis, right? And what is the estimated runtime before, you can expect to um, have any problems engineering wise or faulty piece wise? I think you said before it was something like 2000, 8,000 hours or
Yeah, so the device has a runtime of gas production for up to 8,000 hours. And so there is a timer on the machine that you can check all your users' runtime and how many hours is on the device. We are recommending, and this is not necessary, but it is recommended every 1,000 hours to have it serviced by one of our professionals. And so that is not necessary. If you don't have any sensors going off, you don't have to do that. But to keep everything, really dialed in and sharp, we found about every 1,000 hours it would be recommended. But we've also seen them, run for well over 3,000, 4,000 hours without being serviced and no issues. So that's kind of where we're at as far as you can, and at that 8,000 hour mark, the sensors will do measure gas production and gas quality. And so if the gas production isn't meeting the threshold where it needs to be, then an error will go off and you will be informed, hey, it ceased to make gas production. You check your either self-diagnostics feature, which is a technology built into the device. So you can run a diagnostics on your own machine and then check the hours. And if your hours are at 8,000 or a little higher, and that error sign's going off, then you would contact us. You'd send in the machine to one of our service centers, either in Florida or in Colorado, and then we will exchange that piece that creates the hydrogen known as the proton exchange membrane. So you can have a new one installed after those 8,000 hours, and you're not left without a machine.
So what you're saying is that, by the way, 8,000 sounds like, because we all understand, money. 8,000 sounds like a lot of, uh, not a lot of hours, but that's 400 straight days of operation, day and night, like 24 hours a day operating day and night. So, and I don't know many clinicians who work day and night, but and operating and have a full booking of 24 hours a day of operation. But that's really cool to
Well,
know. It's like you can expect,
yeah,
if you're operating 12 hours a day, right? Every day, you can expect that this machine's gonna last you for at least 800 days or 2 years or 3 years of operational time. In which case, it's a very easy thought process that you're gonna recoup your money, right? Because you can, as far as billing goes, you can bill about a dollar a minute, right? If not more, for
oh
the
yeah,
actual
like
therapy.
even yeah, $2 a minute to dollar per minute.
Well,
And
that's based on you said the H300, H600, H3000. So those are different concentration levels. So really, you could bill a way different price point for each of those different models, right? If you're at a professional,
right.
you can build the $2 or $3 a minute. But if you're doing the commercial unit, that unit you're billing, what is it, like $10 a minute, right? Because you're in and out in 5 minutes. So it definitely makes you
Yeah.
think about the efficacy of what you're doing in terms of getting value back on your machine, which is really cool. Okay, and and you talked about the proton exchange membrane. Have you figured out the price point of what it would take to exchange it out for the machines that essentially have been used to that degree?
Now, I don't know right now. It all does depend on the cost of platinum as well, because we are using a decent amount of platinum. And so that is one of those very, very expensive materials that's typically floating above 900 per ounce. Um, so yeah, that's kind of definitely plays a factor in. So we will have to iron out some of those prices for people when that time comes.
Okay. And is there any warranties on the device?
There is. We do have the industry standard is normally 6 months to a year. And what we've done with our devices is that we've built in an extended warranty. So you actually have a 2-year warranty, and that puts us at very competitive. We're very, very confident in the quality of the machines, the material that we've done, and we have been on the market for a few years now. So we can offer that, and we do want to make a really good experience for all of our people to know that they can purchase a machine and feel secure. You get customer support by phone in the US by a trained professional. And so those were some of the things I saw missing in the market many years ago was warranty and support and help. And so
Hmm.
when we created AxiomH2, um, and my background being in hospitality management, so I really wanted to combine the hospitality aspect, customer service, with a quality product and a quality company.
Cool. Okay. And you said something, so a $900 an ounce for platinum, these are premium machines because we're using a different process to how the usual, you know, molecular hydrogen devices on the market have previously done that makes it last longer, more stable, more beneficial. And you said that there's also uh, quite a significant amount of sensors on the device. So is that what really distinguishes us versus the market in terms of our quality, our ability to determine the output, and our stability in terms of what you can have?
Correct. Yeah. Um, Again, I have built machines in the past for other companies, and I've worked with gas analysis, and I've got to see the internal workings of the machine with other materials after 500 hours and 1,000 hours. And I could see the degradation of the electrodes, of the cathode and the anode. And so, and that's what really started worrying me, is that um, they were using less quality materials, which as the electricity runs to make the hydrogen gas, it breaks down these materials and they release harmful oxides. And so if you don't have the sensors or the proper materials, then you'll never know. And the other point is too, that you could actually just not be making hydrogen. It could stop making hydrogen or be making very, very minute amounts. And and so all these are, I started to understand from building other machines, working with other companies. And I kept saying to the owners, hey, we need to add this sensor. We need to change this and update this. Nobody really wanted to make a better product, or a safer product, really, for our clients and consumers. And so that drove me away from representing other brands and pushing me more to get a team of engineers, medical manufacturer, have all the sensors I always wanted as a consumer, and have the proper material, customer support, and warranty. And so, yeah, we do have, I believe there are 7 sensors, and 2 of our sensors have sensors. So our sensors have sensors. You know, we want it to be very, very preventative and proactive rather than reactive. And we also do have that built-in diagnostic technology, which is a great feature. If you're ever wondering, hey, what's up with my machine? It's acting funny, or you're not sure, run the self-diagnostics. And so, and you can just take a video of that diagnostics, you send it in to us, and we verify everything's running smooth. That's measuring gas temperature, the cell voltage, the quality of gas. And so it's just a really, really great, solid, well-built machine. And you know, the customers have said the same thing. You know, that's why we're on the up and up right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because you really give off the mentality of a warrior. And you talk about the Hydrogen Warrior brand that you're
Yeah,
passionately carrying, and it's like I could see the passion behind what you're talking about because it is frustrating when companies put profit before um, benefit for the customer and the client and the patient because that should be the first priority of those things instead of making it a secondary condition for it. So and I'm
exactly.
very glad that we're pushing for technology that works for people, not against them, and you know not it does exactly what we say we do instead of advertising, hey, this produces hydrogen, but how are you going to test the actual relative amount of hydrogen it's putting out? And how do you know that it's actually doing exactly what it says when
Yeah,
they're using reagents and not catalysts that eventually run out and are degrading over time. So you know exactly that you're going to get something beneficial in the first hour or two, but it degrades disproportionately across the board. So you don't know if it's the 1,000 hour mark or 2,000 hour mark what it's actually producing out, which the placebo effect being what it is might still be beneficial for the patient, but in the long
hmm,
run, you're not getting the actual physics of healing that you need, right? The reality is different than what's actually happening, which can be quite significant. Okay, so I think seeing as we answered quite a lot of questions, regarding this, I want to leave off with two last questions. The first one would be, how do you see this technology really impacting the future of healthcare and its position in like your daily home, your center, and your hospital?
yeah. How I see this impacting healthcare is, I don't think it needs to replace anything, but I think it's definitely a no-brainer to integrate it into all pre-existing therapies. It's shown that it's okay to take with chemotherapy. It's shown to bring medication. It, due to its high safety profile and its scientifically backed and medically backed studies showing that it neutralizes oxidative stress in the body and inflammation, increasing intracellular hydration. It should be our go-to preventative, proactive type of therapy that should be in every home, in every healthcare center, as humans understand how important molecular hydrogen is for all living things, for agriculture, for sea life. for our pets, horses, our cats and dogs. For anything that's living, hydrogen is very, very beneficial for this particular form of molecular hydrogen. In China, it's already been endorsed as a statement. So it doesn't matter if you scrape your knee, you have a headache, you're nauseous, doesn't matter. They're already saying it's that safe, it's that effective. Go ahead and start breathing hydrogen, drinking hydrogen-rich water, because it's going to help something in the body. And so, yeah, I see it everywhere. It needs to be everywhere, and that's why I've been studying this and using this for 10 years and really trying to bring awareness uh, for many, many years on a lonely mountaintop. So now we're finally getting the word out there.
Oh, you're definitely getting some supporters in this industry, in the healthcare industry as well. I definitely know that.
Yeah,
You know, okay, and that's amazing. Like every, it is interesting to think about. Like it needs to be in every home, every healthcare center, you know, anywhere where people are actively trying to be proactive about their health. It can act as a beneficial complementary treatment and therapy. It's not replacing anything necessarily. It's acting as a complementary thing that can be integrated into any existing infrastructure. So that's the nice thing because there's no canisters that you have to lug around. There's no, expensive gas that you have to ship. It's just made with distilled water that you can find at any 7-Eleven or gas station or Walgreens or grocery store, which makes it very convenient in the long run,
right,
right? So
right,
um, there's no difficult infrastructure to implement. There's no complex formula to operate on. You don't have any long run protocols that add to complexity for us. So it's kind of an interesting, catch-all for helping the body out. Because at the end of the day, you're right. If you help the foundation of what the body's doing, you're going to proactively be better in your overall health. So it's
right.
interesting to think about. Okay, so I know that we went into a lot of details, but there are always more due diligence to do, especially for practitioners who want to be able to talk about it with their patients and want to be able to, um, uh, you know, do their due diligence in a way that makes them feel happy about not only their purchase but also about enabling their clients with information, and empowering them with that information. So where can listeners or if the people are reading the subtitles readers go to learn more about this technology in terms of a page? Is there a website that they can go to? I know that firstalternativetherapies.com is going to have a page just dedicated to this technology because we love it. But do you have information as far as studies on Axiom?
Yeah, on my website, AxiomH2.com, there is a page, I believe it's called Studies or Research,
Hmm.
and it will see a lot of PubMed.gov and a lot of very well-known, prominent articles and links to different types of studies. So more than welcome to dive in there. And then another great resource that I'm not affiliated with, but it is a great research for information is called molecularhydrogeninstitute.com. And that's where I have my education from. And that is a leading research institute, if you, I believe, North America for molecular hydrogen. So we always encourage people. We are not affiliated by them, but we do endorse them for their great educational platform.
Okay, so that's a third party. That's even better too, because
Yeah,
that's nothing to do with you. It's not affiliated, but
exactly.
it's still people advocating for the beneficial outcome that this technology does and brings to everyone. So Mateo, thank you so much for joining us for today. Is there any last
Thank you.
minute statements that you'd like to make for people who are tuning in and interested in purchasing and getting their own device?
No, I mean, you guys got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And this has became my life's mission to bring educational awareness. I like to say I don't even sell anything. I just like to express my passion, educate people, and then offer a product and service. And if it resonates, please give us a call. If you have any questions, reach out to Brendan or myself. We're more than happy to get you guys either a demo on the device, talk about our new leasing program, and or starting out with the tablets at the least.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much, and I hope everyone at home who's watching this video enjoys and has a good time. And if you have any questions, you can email in to me at b@fareps.com or call into our office number at 954-789-2097. And I'm sure that we can assist you with all that Mateo just said. So, all right, I think that settles it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day and uh,
Bye.
and stay safe and stay healthy.